Dragon Ball Daima, episode 12, True Strength. We learn the true strength of two important characters, including one that particularly could have changed how a canon outcome took place. Let's talk about it. All right, guys, Brent here back with Variants. We'll cover all things Marvel, DC, Lord of the Rings, anime, gaming, Star Wars, and more. This time, Dragon Ball Daima, episode 12. And I gotta say, this episode absolutely shined as probably the best episode throughout the series. And lo and behold, an episode where fighting turned out to be Dragon Ball's true strength. Whether it be Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Kai, Super, or now Daima. Well, let's just put things into perspective. Anytime fighting is the epicenter of an episode, things are going to continue to be great for the series. But we also saw some amazing fights take place throughout this. So let's jump into the meat and potatoes. What actually happened? In this episode, we picked up right where we left off, where Vegeta was seemingly eaten by a kraken because, of course, Akira Toriyama's final dying wish was to ensure that Vegeta got at least one more middle finger thrown his way just for kicks and giggles, because a handicap match just seems entirely what a Toriyama would do to Vegeta. As we kind of pick up, we see that the Kraken reemerges. Goku is shocked beyond belief, but Vegeta had managed to latch onto one of the Kraken's tentacles and avoid being eaten by the slimmest of margins. As their fight continues to go on, everyone exchanges blows, exchanges blights. Everyone's having the whole kind of verbatim, whether it be verbal or fisticuffs. And eventually, Vegeta actually gets eaten by the Kraken this time because why not? But Vegeta wisely just powers up to Super Saiyan 2, uses the electricity, shoots himself out to the point the Kraken says, you know what? I had fun. Chasing you guys really isn't working all that well for me. I'm out. He just kind of takes a yawn, goes back underwater, kicks rocks, whatever the case may be. He no longer takes part in the fight. Ultimately, this interests Neva, the old Namekian, more than anything else he's seen before. He's like, well, you guys love to fight, waves his hands, and next thing you know, Tamagami number 2 is now amplified basically on some kind of magical power up to where his power level is beyond that of Super Saiyan 2. So, of course, Vegeta, another handicap match because Goku was fighting under. Goku only went Super Saiyan 1 for Tamagami number 3. So, Vegeta basically catching as many L's as possible. Then we pan back out and we come back on to Majin Ku Aransu versus Tamagami number 1. And we kind of see more of Majin Do, kind of what he's all about. As he's fighting and throwing hands, eventually he throws a temper tantrum. Yes, that's right. We have an all powerful Majin throwing a temper tantrum. Remind me of Dragon Ball Z, why don't you? Because Majins, well, they like to eat, and they like to eat a lot. But this does bring up the question, is chocolate basically a steroids to the Majin? Because the minute that Majin Ku goes and grabs chocolate, which is what Majin Do is having a fit about because he wants to eat more of it, gets thrown it, eats it, consumes it, next thing you know, he's shooting off ki blasts double or triple the size of what he was originally shooting off, and directly in the face of Tamagami number 1. And next thing you know, that fight is being handled expertly by one Majin Do, who I will still refer to as Majin Doofus because his IQ is, well, that big. The fight ultimately wraps up with Majin Do collecting that big W, collecting a huge win for everyone directly in the face of King Goma, who has now changed his TV channel from watching World Number 2 to watching World Number 1. Let's be honest, if I had a television station basically set up in an all around swivel chair where all I have to do is this and I can change whatever universe's TV show I'm watching in, I ain't leaving that room either. I know they're right on my front porch, but I ain't going out to go handle that kind of business. You know what I'm saying? It seems like a significant waste of time. So I'll use my reclining happy chair and use my magic Tony Stark hand figure symbol to go ahead and change the channel. As this fight wraps up, the final challenge is finally unveiled. And of course, the bane of my existence, and obviously the bane of most intellectuals or non intellectuals, I should say, pertaining to the world, it's a math problem. And the math problem is going at an astonishing and alarmingly fast pace. If you were able to keep up, you're lying. The math that was going at that speed, even when I was trying to pause and do everything one at a time as the numbers were popping up on screen, Spoiler alert, I was nowhere close. Not even in the right ballpark. I'm not even sure if I was doing math or I was trying to figure out some other extraneous problem. It was a disaster, needless to say. So the fact that Majin Ku was able to figure out, hey, this is the answer, speak it verbally, and then Majin Du was able to understand what Majin Ku was saying is crazy. And the fact that not only was it right, but it was fairly quick with it is insane to see. Because we had Damagami number one given out here like a Japanese game show energy. He had the vibe, he had the aura, he had the charisma. He was playing it up for the fans and for everyone to go ahead and enjoy. But Majin Ku was able to figure out the answer to everything. But when Majin Ku was like, hey, Aransu, where's my attaboy for go ahead and securing this Dragon Ball for the team? I helped out, And she's like, no, you didn't. You just went and got chocolate. You didn't do anything else. To which point he just goes, and then kind of carries on with his day. So I think Majin Ku and Majin Du might be able to share some kind of verbal talking or some kind of mental telepathy in some sense that nobody else is able to perceive or pick up. Interesting. But here's the real and most interesting thing of this episode. Vegeta, while starting to lose his fight, goes Super Saiyan 3. That's right. The Prince of all Saiyans, who's had zero time between literally the end of Dragon Ball Z, which is the timeline where he fought Majin Buu, and now can go, canonically, Super Saiyan 3. Which means in his fight with Goku, for all proper attestations, both him and Goku are holding back. So that fight now has an extra series of asterisks thrown onto it because we're not really sure if both were holding back and we're aware of it. But all we know is Vegeta won that fight. Just for clarification, just want to put that out there. So now we have Vegeta going Super Saiyan 3. He fights Samagami number 2. Eventually bests him literally with his arms crossed like this. Because let's just be honest here. Anytime Vegeta's ever gotten an insane power-up, his arrogance and cockiness has also somehow seemingly gone up. So he ends up winning the fight, hands behind his back, ultimately until he releases a final flash and a left hook directly to the face of Tamagami number 2, making him quit. Tamagami number 2 then offers his final challenge. The final challenge was a verbal word problem where we're trying to figure out if someone managed to eat the biscuits. And Vegeta's logic was because the person in question was a snake. Snakes don't eat biscuits. So when they were asked who ate a certain number of biscuits, Vegeta just says 0 because snakes don't eat biscuits. Which, to be honest, I have no idea if a snake would even eat a biscuit. I've never seen a snake offered a biscuit. I'm just assuming it's not good for them. Please don't try it at home. So Vegeta accidentally or intelligently, not really sure which, I'm pretty sure it was a guess at the very, very last second on his part because he had only 10 seconds to answer, was correct. Ultimately, get the Dragon Ball number 2. And we're left seeing King Goma sitting in his reclining chair having an absolute conniption fight. Absolute conniption fit. But it looks like he's planning an ulterior motive so he can go ahead and enact his plan. Whatever that may be, we're not really privy to it. I'm excited to see what we have coming next week in episode 13. And I'd be ever so excited if you hit that lovely red subscribe button. It's free. It greatly helps us out. It's in the description below or in the bottom right corner with the logo is at. I'm Brett for Geek Variants. I'll see you in the next one.